Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Car News of the Month. I'm your host, Juice, and for the month of March, I have 8 stories to share with you guys. And it's also springtime, so I apologize if my allergies kind of tense up. I might sniffle a few times, so I apologize for the audio. Now getting into our first news story of the week, the NSX is opening a heritage program for their parts. Now, the NSX, one of my favorite cars coming out of Japan, I think Honda's best creation ever, has opened their heritage program, which means you'll be able to buy old parts, whether they're manufactured the same way or recreated to fit through some sort of new technology. They will be able to reproduce and ship them to anywhere in the world. Anyone who owns an NSX, anyone who's trying to repair one, fix one, they now have a large majority of parts and an entire catalog for you to browse from. Now, Honda has announced that their catalog will include powertrain, interior, exterior, electrical, and chassis components. Through a large majority of parts, you'll be able to buy brand new again. And I think this is huge, not just for Honda, but for all manufacturers, because I noticed Nissan's starting to get in talks of it, Mitsubishi's in talks of it. I think this is going to be huge for the classic car market. You'll be able to order parts for just about anything new, not having to be worried about finding some sort of parts card to pull things off of, especially if, like, let's say Nissan opens up a S13 and S14 and S15 line, and Mitsubishi through all of their Evos. I think it's just going to keep their greatest creations on the road, and I think that's what they're shooting for, because they know a lot of their new vehicles aren't quite as at the pinnacle of automotive luxury or sport, however you want to look at it. And I think them getting back into helping their classic car market is going to correlate into their newer car markets, because you're going to look at, say, this one's sick Nissan. If you look at an S13 or anything like that, it's going to make you think about buying one of their newer models. So the NSX is honestly at the pinnacle of Japanese automotive sports. It's right up there with the R34 and R33. I might even personally put it over. I know I might get a lot of hate for that, but something about the NSX, man. It's an amazing car. Now getting into our second story, Ferrari has announced in 2027 they will be coming out with the Amalfi. I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I'm sure some Italian man's gonna be pissed at me.
Hey, throw it all away there. Waste it all, fucking John D. Rockefeller. Waste it all. What the fuck?
Their Spider debut, and I believe they've already came out with the coupe version of it, and now they're coming out with the drop top model. Now this thing is just an absolute monster, coming in at 631 horsepower and 560 pound-feet of torque. I think that might be toned down a little bit from the original. However, it's a good-looking car, and it's created for a different tax bracket than me. Believe me, it's still, you can appreciate a beautiful car when you see one. Now, the powertrain is a 3.9-liter V8, and I believe that is the same as the coupe. I'm not 100% sure. However, obviously, the convertible will weigh a lot more due to all of the components that come into having a convertible model, like the motor to do the top and storage space to put it. It'll weigh a couple more pounds. However, the Spider can still move to 62 miles per hour in a claimed 3.3 seconds. I don't know why they didn't list the 0 to 60. They had to put 0 to 62. I'm not entirely sure why they decided to do that, but that's how the article says. It also has a top speed of 199 miles per hour. That is moving. Now, there's no exact pricing for what they'll charge it for, but they do claim to bring it to the United States. And the coupe starts at $260,000. We're guessing the Spider is going to come in somewhere around $300,000, just for the more luxury market, and there will be less made, obviously, so that'll have an upcharge of price. So stay tuned for that within the next year. I'm sure they'll have it out to show the public. Now, something you guys know I'm very passionate about is sedans. I talked about it last week. I've talked about it for a while. I own one. I love them. I wish they made more of them. And it turns out GM must watch my videos, because they have declared they are bringing sedans back to the US. And when I first read this article, oh my God, I got so excited. I was so happy. And then I looked at the picture for it, and it's just What are we doing, dude? Just, it pisses me off. I can't even. The CT4 and the CT5 are beautiful cars, amazing cars. Like, I will own a CT5 one day. I say that all the time. And I think it's probably the greatest sedan ever made, arguably, and possibly the last great sedan, especially if this is the direction GM's going in. I just, looking at it, it's just, I think hideous. I really think they could do something. The front end isn't too bad, but man, it's hardly a sedan. It's more of, it's like that line in between sedan and hatchback, but you just curve out the notchback just enough, but it's not quite far enough back to be like a wagon or a hatchback. It's just a little bit tucked in. Now, this is obviously just a concept car, and there will be changes made to it, but I just don't look at that and think, oh, that's a sedan. You know, I look at that and think, oh, it's practically a hatchback. It's like a Tesla. I mean, it looks like a Tesla. And I pray this isn't the direction they go in. So, but they haven't made a sedan since 2020 when they cut the Regal, which I also really like those. I think those look pretty good. And the Tour X for a wagon is, I believe, the last American wagon we had. So I think that was made after the CTV. I'm not sure yet, don't quote me. However, I mean, they've made really cool sedans. Even the Malibu looked all right. Now, that wasn't anything to write home about, but neither was the Regal. They still looked, I thought, pretty good, especially for a basic car. I just hope they work themselves in a different direction before they bring it back. Yeah, sad, really sad. Now, going back to foreign news, Bentley has announced their first EV coming to the US in 2027. Now, Bentley, usually known for their big, just beefy engines, V12s, V10s, and just absolutely monstrous luxury vehicles. They have announced that they are coming out with their EV. There was talks about them canceling it and just sticking to gas-powered vehicles and possibly hybrids, which I believe they have. But now they have decided they are going back in the EV direction, at least for one product, just to see how it does. Now, they are going to work with Volkswagen Group on their premium platform electric architecture. It also is going to be the platform they're using in the new Porsche Cayenne EV that they are coming out with. So they're going to be about on the same platform, and I'm guessing the same powertrain. And I think they're both going to have hybrid options as well. They're in talks of extending a lot of their Continentals and all that to have a hybrid EV option. So if you're rich and want to have a green thumb and I'm sure a good tax write-off, you can go with a nice hybrid option for your Bentley. Now, for the past, I want to say 5 years, Toyota has been in talks of making a Raptor rival, and they have decided to stamp that and make it official with a trademark for a name. Now, if you guys have seen, in 2021, they had the TDR Desert Chase concept, which is just one of the coolest Toyota trucks I've ever seen. And I am personally, if they were to just release that in 2021, I think you'd sell a lot, because that thing looks like a monster. They're about, I think, the same ride height as a Raptor 4-door, and the thing I think Toyota could really kick ass with is if they have a V8 platform, because base model Raptors only come with 3.5 EcoBoost. The only way to get the 5.2 is with the supercharged Raptor R model, which is like a $50,000 markup, something crazy like that. They don't come out with a normal 5.0, and I don't know why they wouldn't. Maybe because they just want, like, oh, if you want the V8, you have to go either to a Mustang or spend a shit ton of money on a supercharged. But they don't have a naturally aspirated Raptor with V8, which kind of bothers me. I mean, I guess, oh, turbo just as capable, but I just know there's a market for a V8 off-roader monster truck. And if Toyota is able to slice into that a little bit, I think they definitely can. If anyone can, it's them, because I don't think the ZR2 is doing a great job. I don't believe Ram makes an NA TRX. I think TRXs are all supercharged. So if you just come out with a naturally aspirated and cut down on price, I think Toyota's gonna make some money off this thing. Now you may be wondering, what name did Toyota go with? Well, there were 6 names listed up online, and they had to vote for it through. So the ones that didn't make it was the TDR Pro S, pretty boring. The TDR Baja, I kind of like that one. The TDR Berserk, the TDR Iron, the TDR Quake. And the one they settled for, they call it the TDR Hammer. That has been trademarked, that is in the works. They're saying it's going to take up to 6 years before it reaches production, which means it won't be on the 2021 platform. It'll be on their next platform, whatever they do, whatever sort of redesign they go with, which is unfortunate because this thing looks amazing. And it'll be interesting to see how they do it. Hopefully they're smart enough to come out with a NAV8, and I know it'll sell. There's plenty of people out there that would throw cash at a Toyota, especially if it keeps the reliability. Great news coming out of California for classic car owners. The Leno's Law is on its way back, and this time they believe it will pass through legislation. Now, if you guys are unaware, California has what's called a smog test because of how bad like LA and everything like that pollutes into the atmosphere. So the vehicles have to pass a smog test by pretty much showing their emissions, no check engine light, everything has to be pretty much perfect under the hood for them to pass, and they have to take this test. I believe it's once every year, don't quote me on that. But pretty much the older the car is, the harder it is to get it to pass emissions. Because, I mean, you have aging on stuff, and obviously cars back in the 80s, back when people didn't care what they were doing in the environment, burnt everything up, and just a crap ton of carbon coming out of those. Now, Jay Leno, one of the most infamous car collectors, has been fighting this for a long time. He believes that car culture was started in LA, it needs to stay in LA. So he's come out with the Leno Law. And pretty much, if you don't know what the Leno Law is, it's a rolling calendar year starting in 1981, and every year it climbs up one. So it'll be 1982, 1983, and it'll go on. So that way more cars will fall into this law. And pretty much it's aimed to allow any car that's 1981 or lower to not have to pass emissions law. It will be a lot more lean. Obviously, it can't just be pouring out carbon because then you're gonna have problems. And you'll be able to drive your classic car on the road again. Now, it came out last year and it didn't pass because everybody was so worried that all these people who can't afford to pass a smog test is just gonna go back and buy a car from 1981. So they decided to come out and say, all right, you'll have your car from 1981. However, you'll also have to have another car that's listed so your classic car isn't considered your daily driver. That way you'll have your fuel efficient, nice, good for the environment, CRV, and then you'll be able to come out on the weekends with your 69 fastback and it like a cruiser, You won't have to drive it every day. It shouldn't be driven every day. It's not your main source of vehicle. And they'll believe this will be enough to pass Bill 1392. So if you're interested in going look that up, go ahead and look that up. It'll have everything listed more than I can explain to you because anything in the court of law is beyond me. Now, our last story of the month, I do believe this came out like the second to last day in March. The all-new Corvette Grand Sport has been announced. With the return of a legendary Corvette, they also returned a legendary engine. Chevy has announced the return of the LS6. Everyone's favorite swappable engine that goes in just about anything from monster trucks to Miatas. So they announced they were bringing back the submodel of the Grand Sport to fit between their Z06 and the Stingray. So the Stingray is pretty much their base model, and the Z06 is more of a track-focused car, you could say. Not quite the ZR1, but enough to label it as a race car. Powering the all-new Grand Sport is going to be the return of the LS. The LS6 will be a 6.7 liter V8 that cranks out 535 horsepower and 520 pound-feet of torque. Now, of course, Corvette has started putting all-wheel drive in their ZR1 and their Z06s, and they've decided to label that as X. So any sort of Corvette, blank X is all-wheel drive. So they'll have the Grand Sport X, the Z06X, and the ZR1X. That just labels them as all-wheel drive. I don't believe they're going to put the all-wheel drive in the Stingray, so I think they're going to have that for the higher models, for the more track-focused models. And that's also probably a hefty price tag on all-wheel drive. If I had to guess, 15 grand at least. There will be multiple sub packages to the Grand Sport, including the Z52 Sport Performance Package, which has stiffer suspension, Michelin Pilot Sport tires, and high-performance brakes, the same ones that they put in the Z06. Chevy has yet to release pricing for the Grand Sport, but it is expected to start around $95,000. They are also bringing back their legendary blue, I'm not sure exactly what they call it, with all blue interior with the stripe packages. And I think it looks good, but all Corvettes look good, so they can't quite say it looks amazing. I think this will be exciting. I think a lot more people will be happy about the return of the LS and the return of the Grand Sport, because the Grand Sport at the end of the day is just a submodel of the Stingray and the C8 in itself. It looks pretty much the same, just with a couple fancier labels. So I think the LS6 is what's going to get a lot of the attention. Now, are they going to put this LS6 in the next CT5? Are they going to put it in the return of the Camaro, if that ever comes? Are they going to put it in the next generation Silverado? I think a lot is yet to be said about what we're going to see this LS6 in. And I think that is just exciting for GM. I mean, we just talked about the Buick. Are they going to have some sort of performance model, hopefully in a better looking sedan? I think we're going to see a lot of news on this LS6 throughout 2026. So I think they're going to have multiple plans for it, and they're going to put it in a couple different things. If I had to guess, they'll put it in the ZR2 first, and then have that just finally have a different engine than the normal Silverado, and maybe make that more of a performance-driven off-road package, because right now it's pretty much just all suspension and tires at the bottom end. Everything on the ZR2 is pretty much the exact same as a Silverado, and I worked on them, so I can pretty much tell you it's almost all the same. So hopefully they'll have some sort of special edition. Maybe they'll have a different branding for it, and it won't be the ZR2, but I would really like to see Chevy do that. And I mean, obviously, like everyone else, the return of the Camaro would be amazing. I think a lot of people are waiting on it. The only competition that's out there is the Mustang. If you really want to put the CT5 in the same category as a Mustang, even though they're two really different cars, that's pretty much it for muscle cars. So the LS6 brings back hope that we will be seeing the return of the Camaro hopefully soon. So that's it for the month of March. As you guys know, I've been relatively late, not to say everything's going to be on time, and it surely wouldn't have had everything been perfect, but I'm going to keep pushing forward. Hopefully I pump this one out before the last week of April. It's not looking too good right now. We're already halfway there. So like and subscribe. Follow me on TikTok. I haven't said that yet. I have a TikTok account, and that's where I post a lot of my shorts. I do post my shorts here as well, but I mean, if I can get followers on both, may as well try. So follow me on TikTok, follow me on Instagram. I don't post there as much. And like and subscribe. Green tie, like I said. Shout out to Chase, who left a comment. Let me know what tie I should wear in the next video, and it also lets me know you made it this far. So, and that's it. Have a great April. Have a great April.